Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Council Open Agenda for the Wednesday, the 10th of May 2023, purpose of which is to adoption of our annual report for the year ending 2021, for the year 2021-2022. Could I just draw Councillors' attention to page 5, a karakia, which I'd like us to do together, please. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki te tonga, I hei ake ana ata ka atapura, I tia, I hoka, I hea, ki hei Māori ora. Correct, everyone, thank you. Welcome to staff, welcome to councillors, welcome to those in attendance that aren't any of those groups, and to those that are watching online. So, apologies, do we have any? Noting that Councillor Tamihana is joining us by Zoom, and an apology from Councillor Proctor. I'll move those be accepted. Thanks, Councillor Jennings, for seconding. All those in favour? Against, carried. Thank you. Late items. Oh, 4, that's good. Thank you. So I'll move that we receive the late item, which we are going to consider in committee, the subject of which is retrospective consultancy fees. I'll move. Could I have a seconder? Councillor Young. All those in favour? Against, carried. Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest?
Yeah, I will declare interest.
In relation to which item?
The in-committee matter, sorry.
Thank you. Noted.
Me also, please.
Councillor Tukapua.
Declaring
a conflict in that matter as well. Thank you. So we now move to page 7, which is the adoption of the annual report for the year 2021-2022. Could I just move the report 3.1 and 3.2 report be received? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Allen. Seconded by Councillor Grimstone. All those in favour? Against, carried. Can I welcome to the table Jacinta and our audit officer, Clint. Nice to have you here again. You seem to be a regular attender at our meetings, but welcome.
Through your worship, thank you. So I will pass over to Clint, our audit director, shortly to walk through the audit process. But just to clarify that at this stage, this is the final stage of the annual report for 21-22. The summary annual report is also attached. This report has gone through the Risk and Assurance Committee and has been endorsed and recommended for adoption by the council table. So I'll pass over to Clint to give you an overview of the audit process.
Thank you, Jacinta. Kia ora. Thanks, Mayor, for welcoming me, and thanks for the opportunity to present here. So the presentation I'm about to give is not very different from the one that I gave at the audit committee. So for those members that were at the audit committee, my apologies if you've seen the same things, but I would be really concerned if it did change much between then and now. I can say not much has changed other than on the status of the audit itself. So Chair, I'll just, your worship, I'll move straight into the status of the audit, so where we are as at today. So it's substantially complete, subject to one completion of our subsequent events checklist. So just given the way the weather operates these days, we still will, until the time we sign, make sure there's no adverse weather events that we might have to disclose in your accounts. So we will continue to do that and keep an eye. subject to Council obviously adopting today's report, the annual report, and then us receiving a letter of representation once Council has adopted that. We have issued the draft management letter, and comments are coming through, so that's just the process that we'll go through. But the items that I have raised with the audit committee will be reflected in that report. So, councillors, in terms of the audit itself, we had identified 5 areas of focus where we expected to do some additional audit work that were identified as risks. So the first one was around revaluation of property, plant and equipment. So that's around your infrastructure assets, the 3 water assets, your road network, and this year also land and buildings. Based on the audit work that we've done, the outcome there is that we are comfortable that the balances are fairly stated. It's a big exercise for both council's staff and for us as the auditors, so just getting to that point has been quite a challenge, but I think we got there at the end. So I just want to acknowledge and thanks management for their support around that. The second item was around the complaints and response times for performance measures, specific performance measures relating to water response times. Again, as it was the case last year, we have issued a qualification on that measure, and that's primarily around the completeness of the number of complaints coming in. So what we've had for part of the year, it's been corrected since, for part of the year, when calls came into the call centre, it was recorded first once, the fault, subsequent calls into the call centre was not recorded. It was either a service request or just linked to the initial call. So we were unable to get comfort that the number of calls that was reported was complete. There's also an element of work that had to be done with Palmerston North City Council, who operates your after hours line, and they've also now got their business rules aligned with Council's expectations. Third item was around the drinking water performance measures, just some changes to the role of Ministry of Health from November 2021, left a gap in terms of how, so in the past Ministry of Health would appoint drinking water assessors who would then do the work, and we would audit that centrally, in fact, and get comfort over it. In November 21, those drinking water assessors no longer were accredited, is probably the right word, by the Ministry of Health because of changes to the way water quality was managed. It was then left up to individual councils to get their own assurance, and in this instance, council had engaged Y-Comply, who were the previous drinking water assessors credited. We did enough work to satisfy ourselves that Y-Comply had the necessary expertise and were able to conclude on that the reported result was reasonable. Impact of 3 water reforms, the ongoing changes in that space, I don't have to tell you about that. Again, it just brings a level of uncertainty. You carry a significant balance in terms of assets, and there's some debt associated with it. That might change what your balance sheet looks like going forward. We just need to alert the reader to that. So in our audit report, we have what we call an emphasis of matter, which draws the attention of the reader to those changes. And then the last item, which is standard across all audits, is about the risk of management override of internal controls. So there's 2 areas we look at specifically. It's around the passing of journals, processing of journals, so that numbers get to where management wanted to be. So we do a lot of work on journal testing, nothing that we want to bring to your attention or anything that we've identified. And then the second element is around where judgment is applied. So the valuations is a key example of that. If management is influencing your experts, etc., that would be an area of concern. We found no evidence of that. In fact, we've engaged directly with valuers throughout the process. Your Worship, I'm happy to take questions as we go if come.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Clint or Jacinta regarding
the annual report.
Uh,
Are you going to?
yeah,
Oh,
I'll carry on, but I'm happy
yeah,
to
no,
be
no,
interrupted.
carry on. Sorry,
Sure.
sorry.
No worries. Councillor said the next item that we need to report to you for any errors that we've picked up that haven't been adjusted in the accounts. There are two of those errors, and if you just look at the last column, I think would be of interest to you. We consider whether it will have a material impact on the accounts. So the last column under financial performance there says that by not putting through these adjustments, there's a $93,000 understatement. I am right. Overstatement of your surplus deficit. We don't consider that material. Management didn't also consider it material to make the adjustment. And I think the first one around the carbon credits, it's just where you put that. Every year the value of the carbon credits go up, and where do you put it on the face of the financial profit and loss, as we used to call it. It's a different disclosure, and then you also have to create a revaluation reserve. So it gets quite messy, if I say not the technical term to use, to try and put through an adjustment like that at such a late stage. So we've agreed with management that going forward it should be corrected, but it's not material and was never material, to be quite honest. So that error we've agreed not to adjust, and then there was also an adjustment in terms of the commercial property, and that was the sale of the cinema that moved between held for sale and now into investment property. That's moved up in value. Again, it's a $326,000 adjustment that would have increased the value of your assets on the balance sheet and your reserves. So it's all balance sheet primarily. Linked to the one, there's added disclosures that's required for carbon credits. Again, we didn't think it's material for adjusted. Other adjustments made that we've identified through the audit that management has fixed up. So there were 7 misstatements that meant that the operating deficit has increased by $634,000. So those have been processed. Assets increased by $4.7 million, and I'm to talk to that. And equity decreased by $4.6 million. So it was just a balance sheet entry and a misclassification where certain assets were revalued that's not owned by council, so we had to or reverse out that portion of it, which equated to about $4.7 million. And then the last one was a $595,000 increase in the liabilities, and that related to, I forget now, the landfill provision from my recollection. Yep. And then there's a whole lot of disclosure misstatements that we identified that was also corrected. There are 46 of those. I want to say the bulk of those, Your Worship and Councillors, related to the revaluations. They're really complex, and I raised this at the audit committee. They wash through the accounts, and you know, as these valuations get updated, they have a knock-on effect throughout the annual report. I'm nearly there. In terms of recommendations, prior year recommendations, or as you know, we at the end of the audit provide recommendations to council. I think the key one is the middle. The recommendations implemented or closed during the year were 25 closed, and I think, you know, there's been a concerted effort to address this. There's good reporting now going up to the audit and risk committee. Obviously, we'd like to see that 11 that's still open closed off, and we'll look to do some of that during the 23 audit. And there was 3 that we had deferred to the 23 audit. So all in all, there's 14 recommendations that remained open at the end of this audit, you know, down from the overall 39, and I think that's really good progress, and again want to just acknowledge the work and effort of management to address those. A lot of those, again, valuations, you'll see it comes up time and time again. A lot of those recommendations relate to the valuations process. So finally, what does our audit report look like? So we've issued a draft audit report and on receipt of your annual report and a letter of representation. The audit report will basically be saying that you have an unqualified audit opinion on your financial information. The performance reporting is qualified, but only for the complaints measured, nothing else. So we're pretty specific. And then the emphasis of matter regarding Three Waters. I can show you there's been no independence issues that's arisen through our audit with any of our staff or colleagues. And just to let you know that we also do the debenture trust deed audit as part of a separate engagement with council outside the statutory audit. So I'll leave it at that. The last slide was about the timelines for the next audit, but I see Monique smiling at me there, so I'll just park it for a minute and deal with this, and we'll go on to the next one.
Thank you, Clint. Any questions of either Jacinta or Clint? Councillor Tukapu.
At the risk committee, you provided some commentary around performance measures and how to make, suggesting that some could be more meaningful. And I wondered, what's your advice around the timing of when we might best address those coming up to the LTP proper next year?
Through you, Your Worship, the time is the best time is right now, because we've got the LTP. If we keep to the current legislation, that needs to be in place from 1 July 2024. So having those conversations right now in the run up to that will be absolutely crucial. You're obviously locked into what you have now, but I think starting to get the sense of what's important to the community now for the 3 years or the next 10 years is quite important, and start to reflect that in the discussions around how you develop those new measures. And again, I think the office and ourselves as your auditors happy to engage with councillors on that. Some of the thinking, there's a lot of information that the OAG has put out and guidance, so we're really happy to engage on that.
Thank you, Clint. Thank you, Jacinta. You can stay there if you like. Can we just then put 3.3 to 3.8 on the table? 3.3, the council note the draft audit opinion included as attachment C, which includes the final audit opinion. The council note the letter of representation included as attachment D. The council adopts the annual report for the year ended 30th of June 2022 as included in attachment A and as amended by adding the final audit opinion. The council adopts the summary annual report as included as attachment B for the year ended 30th of June 2022 be adopted as amended following the final audit opinion. That the chief executive be authorised to amend the final annual report for editorial amendments required or to reflect non-material changes requested by audit after the date of the adoption of the report. And that the Mayor and Chief Executive be authorised to sign the annual report on behalf of Council, and the Mayor, Chief Executive and Group Manager Organisation Performance be authorised to sign the letter of representation as included at Appendix D addressed to the Council's auditors for the year ended 30th of June 2022. Happy to move, seconded by Councillor Olsen. Any further discussion or debate? Put those recommendations, all those in favour? Against?
Aye.
Thank you, Justin. Carried. Thank you. Clint, I know that 2021, 2022 seems a distant memory for some of us, and recognising that there are only 5 of us around the table at the end of that financial year. And while it's not ideal, obviously, that we're only some weeks out from the next financial year, the recognition of the 2021-2022 year, was a challenging year. COVID and weather events for us were particularly challenging. The fact that we've still got growth, we're still dealing with issues like landfill and O2&L, they're ongoing. But I think it should also be recognised as being a very successful year for this organisation for a number of things, including appointment of a new chief executive and also adopting unanimously the addition of Mary Wards, and the meaning that we've got 2 new councillors around the team and around the table. So just wanted to acknowledge that while it is late, there are still many good things that came out of that year, and hopefully the 2022-23 year will be a lot quicker in terms of us debating it or talking about it. Can I thank you and your team for the work that you have done? I know many of these challenges have not been because of the work that you have done and your team, but also acknowledging the way that you have interacted with this table. We really appreciate the open and frank discussion that you've had with us, and I know that is setting a good foundation for the future. Just want to acknowledge Jacinda and her team as well for the huge amount of work that they have had to do in amongst trying to prepare for a long-term plan amendment and other things as well. So, look, thank you both and your teams very much. Cheers. Jacinda.
If it's okay, I'll just, for the whole table, just let you know in terms of the next audit risk, which is at the end of May, that's where conversations around the audit plan, the fees for next year, and the timetable in terms of getting it all finished by the end of October will be had. So just to finalise with that point.
Thank you both. Cheers. So we now move to adopt So we're now seeking to go in committee. So I will move that we exclude the public from the proceedings of this meeting to discuss retrospective consultancy fees. Could I have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Grimstone. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you.